गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। ध्यानमूलं गुरोर्मूर्तिः पूजामूलं गुरोर्पदं मंत्रमूलं गुरोर्वाक्यं मोक्षमूलं गुरोर्कृपा। ॐ सर्वमङ्गलमाङ्गल्ये शिवे सर्वार्थसाधिके शरण्ये त्र्यम्बके गौरी नारायणी नमोऽस्तुते। सृष्टिस्थितिविनाशानां शक्तिभूते सनातनी गुणाश्रे गुणमये नारायणे नमोऽस्तुते। शरणागतदीनार्तपरित्राणपरायणे सर्वस्यार्तिहरे देवी नारायणे नमोऽस्तुते। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। We discussed meditation in general yesterday. It is usual for most meditators to use a symbol, not only because otherwise the mind is difficult to focus or restrain, but also for the reason I tried to explain yesterday, that I find that there is some lack in me, something lacking in me, and I want to grow in it. There is an anxiety in me, I want to grow in faith. There is brutality in me, I want to grow in tenderness. There is violence in me, I want to grow in non-violence, love. So I use a symbol, a figure, human, superhuman, above human, but there is one snag here. I have an aggressive temperament and I am meditating upon the Buddha. The effectiveness of this meditation depends entirely upon the depth with which I feel that the opposite quality is found in perfection in Buddha. If there is even a grain of doubt in it, this method will not work. I am sitting here, an aggressive man, violent man, restless man, and I enthrone Buddha on the lotus of my heart. I am suggesting to myself that Buddha is all peace. Buddha is full of compassion. And therefore, by meditating upon Buddha, the compassionate, I can fill myself with this compassion. That's wonderful. I am suggesting to myself, auto-suggestion works, self-hypnosis works. Quite true. But then, if there is going to be a little ray of doubt somewhere, after all, Buddha lived 2500 years ago. Who knows whether he was such a compassionate being? I also hear that he once ate meat and he was of a princely clan. It's impossible for a man of princely clan to be totally compassionate. Well, after all, these biographers, they sometimes twist and turn to suit their point. Supposing this idea exists in a corner of my heart, all my meditation is of no use. Because I am doubting the truth of my own meditation, the truth upon which the meditation is based. Therefore, quite a number of yogis doubt the validity of this type of meditation. A meditation in which you visualize the goal, which is a projection of yourself, obviously. I don't know what Buddha looks like. The Buddha on whom I am meditating now is my own conception, that is my child. That which you conceive is your child, isn't it? Not your father. You can't conceive your father, right? So that which I conceive and deliver is my baby. And therefore, this Buddha or this Jesus or this Krishna that I am meditating upon is a product of my conception, therefore my baby. If this product of my conception is endowed with supreme faith, then it is truth. The faith makes it truth. How many of us are capable of that such faith? How many of us are capable of such faith? Such faith which has not a shadow of doubt, not a ray of doubt. Therefore, many yogis prefer the method of inquiry. What is inquiry? Start with any question you like. Take for instance the question, what is truth? When I ask this question, what is truth? The answer is not truth is 2 plus 2 is 4. That is arithmetic, not truth. 2 plus 2 make 4 is not truth, it's arithmetic. It's a multiplication table. When I ask myself, what is truth? The question has a very special significance. That is, I am asking myself, what is the most enduring, permanent factor, universal factor in this universe? For that is truth, I can depend upon that. I can depend upon only that. Anything that is not universal, anything that is not eternal, is subject to change. And I can't depend upon that which is subject to change. If everything is subject to change, let me know that. Then I can depend upon change, which is eternal. So, my inquiry is, what is truth? In other words, what is eternal? What is infinite? Now, in this inquiry, you are not assuming anything, nothing at all, absolutely nothing. I am merely asking a question. On what can I lean? Have I any support in this universe? Have I any security in this universe? I am afraid. I am afraid to stand alone. I need a support. I need a security. I need a companion. On what can I depend? That is my inquiry. Because I find that my entire life is one unending cry for security. Unending cry for security. And this security is demanded by me because I am afraid. There is this haunting fear. There is no use rationalizing this fear, saying it is the birth trauma. You ask somebody, why am I afraid to go down in the elevator? He says, oh, your mother dropped you rather too hard. And so, since birth, you are afraid. It's too late now to mend these matters. I can't get into my mother again and say, all right, drop me slowly, gently this time. This thing happened 50 years ago. I am only interested in what I am now. I am afraid now. How can I overcome this fear? I look at that fear. I don't analyze it. I am merely examining it, looking at it. And as I look at that fear, I can see that there is this craving for security. I need an assurance. Concerning my future. I need to convince myself that I am walking on solid ground now, and this solid ground will endure for all time to come. That I am not going to be swallowed by an earthquake or a landslide. And therefore, I am examining the ground on which I am standing. What is the ground on which I am standing? Am I standing on truth? Am I standing on something that is enduring, eternal? Or am I standing on shifting sands? If I am standing on shifting sands, is there an enduring, eternal substance so that I can go and stand on that? Therefore, I am asking, what is truth? Krishna mentions this in the Bhagavad Gita very beautifully. In his teachings, throughout, one finds a delightful vagueness. All great masters were delightfully vague. It's only the half-baked philosopher or scientist who is dogmatic. This is right, this is not right. This is white and therefore it is black. This sort of self-assertiveness is a sure sign of immaturity. All great masters have been delightfully vague because they insist that you must discover the truth. The truth cannot be handed from one person to the other. I still remember an incident from my master's life. We were on an all India tour, and at one huge public meeting in a place called Patna in Bihar, the then Chief Minister of Bihar, a very enlightened, learned man, a great leader, he presided over the meeting, and suddenly he popped up a question during his introduction and welcoming speech. He said, I am tempted to ask you, Swami, have you seen God and can you show me God? This is in the course of his introductory address. I was watching the master's reaction. Very often, when he didn't want to, he completely ignored a question when he didn't want to answer. I was wondering whether he was going to ignore this question or going to answer it in some manner. Sure enough, the master alluded to the question right in the beginning of his address. And he said, God is not a thing that I can show it to you. God is not a toy that I can hand it to you. How can the infinite being be handed to you? Even you can't see with your eyes. Even you can't think of the Supreme Being with your mind. That which you see is not God. That which you think is not God. So this truth cannot be handed from one person to the other. This truth may be communicated from one person to the other. The communication being an inspiration leading to self-discovery. Inspiration means inspiration, there is nothing more. Inspiration means breathing in. There is nothing more. The yogi or the master may come and tell you, you take a deep breath. That which took a deep breath in, that is the reality. Now you find out. You took a deep breath. What? What was that breath? What was that life? Who was it within this body that breathed in, that inspired? No, it's for you to find out. That's for you to discover. This is inspiration. The other is teaching. And I don't know if you are familiar with what is called spoonerism. Spoonerism is jumbling of syllables. So, if you apply spoonerism to this word teaching, what do you get? Cheating. That is more true. All teaching is mainly cheating. You can't teach. Can this be transferred? No. Someone can inspire me. And when he inspires me, I am inspired to discover the truth for myself. Therefore, these masters are delightfully vague. Krishna, in the course of his discourse in the Bhagavad Gita, he says, Na sato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate satah. He says, Arjuna, listen to this carefully, otherwise you will miss the whole point. The unreal has no being, and the reality does not cease to be. Any fool who hears this, is that so lovely? But what is lovely? Have you understood what it means? He has said nothing. By saying the reality is forever is and the unreal never is, what have you done? Nothing. You have said nothing at all. It is like the famous County Shire dictionary. A young man was taking postal lessons I think even here in America you have this system, no? Huh? Taking a postal degree, postal lessons, postal tuition, and postal diploma. And this man was in India. The lessons were coming from London. The subject, one of the subjects was civics. And there in one lesson in civics, he came across the word county. First he thought that there was an error, spelling mistake. It must be country, he thought, because he didn't know what county meant. There are no counties in India. So he said there is a spelling mistake. But then the word kept recurring. So it must be county. This teacher couldn't have made too many mistakes. Good. Then he said, oh, well. And the context also suggested that it was not country that was meant. So when you are in doubt, you are alone, and you are in doubt, what do? Look up the dictionary. He picked that dictionary, turned on county, C-O-U-N-T-Y, and the meaning given there was shire, S-H-I-R-E, and he didn't know what shire meant. He didn't. All right, so what? If I could turn the dictionary up to C, I could as well turn it on up to S. A few more pages, S-H-I-R-E, and the meaning given there was county. So his knowledge was complete. He closed the book, he closed the lessons and went to sleep. In the same way, Krishna says that the truth never ceases to be. That which doesn't cease to be is the truth, isn't it? What is the use of telling me this truth, the reality never ceases to be? And this is where we are caught. The moment I come across an expression like this, the reality doesn't cease to be, I have understood. I have understood nothing. It is when you understand that you have understood nothing, you have understood something. When you have the honesty to admit to yourself, I have understood nothing, then you are understanding something. You can at least proceed from there. So, this inquiry is so delicate, so fine, that it needs all the alertness that I can command. If I nod 1/100th of a second, I'm gone. It's like the famous transatlantic flight that Charles Lindbergh undertook. Transatlantic flight that Charles Lindbergh undertook. I still remember the beautiful story that the readers they just published. It seems he was so sleepy and he couldn't possibly keep his head on his shoulders. And he knew that if he nodded his head it would be disaster. So in order to wake himself up, it is said that he brought the plane just about 100 feet above the waves, looked out, creeps. And he says, I was so awake that no pill, nothing was necessary, no coffee, no pill was necessary. I was so awake, wide awake, because there, death. Even so, as I mentioned yesterday, this alertness in meditation is possible only if I know that here is a matter of life and death. If I nod once, I've lost it. If I am non-alert, non-vigilant, even for a second, I've lost it. And I don't know where I will be. Probably I'll have to start all over again. If I have this vigilance, then that vigilance acts as the spur, acts as the light itself. Here there is no faith necessary at all. The faith is vaguely that one day I will find the truth. Vaguely, the faith is one day I will find the truth. This faith is not such a great blind faith or assumption. The other faith is an assumption that Buddha exists or Krishna exists or Jesus exists, that I am going to commune with this, etc., etc. That is based on assumption. Before discovering the truth about Buddha, Krishna, Jesus, etc., I am assuming that on the testimony or on the evidence of other people, I am assuming that these people were so great, etc., etc., etc. But here in this, there is no assumption at all. I am discovering, I want to discover what is truth. But there is probably one assumption here, that is, that truth exists. There is no controversy about this, because that which exists is truth. So I am basing my inquiry already on truth. If nothing exists in this world, then there is this incontrovertible experience, I exists. Sorry for the grammar. There is this incontrovertible experience, I exists. So I turn my gaze within. This I, what is it? Is it eternal? Is it immortal? Is it infinite? Does it depend upon something else? Is it independent? What is the nature of this self? Now, I am on sure ground. I am assuming nothing. I am assuming nothing. I am taking nothing for granted. I only know I exists. For that I don't need any proof. Unless I am mad, totally mad. I don't have to go and ask him, please sir, can you certify that I exist? Then he will certify me to go to the hospital somewhere. So this is, I know I exist. I only don't know what the nature of this I is, what this nature of this self is. And I begin to inquire. I begin to inquire. In this inquiry, there is no assumption at all. But there is great need for vigilance. There is great need for introversion. The moment I let my mind run away onto other objects, I am lost. And therefore, the great yogis, including the one who has given us a textbook on yoga, Patanjali, insisted that in order to pursue this self-knowledge or self-discovery or self-inquiry, one must be established in virtue. If you closely examine the virtues that are being prescribed, even they are negatively worded. Ahimsa. There are countless masters who define this ahimsa as love. If you go to Hollywood Boulevard and utter the word love, immediately you know what the response would be. That's not love. That's again externalization. That's passion, lust, sex. When the mind is externalized. And we saw that the moment the mind is externalized, you have lost. You have lost the quest altogether. So therefore, the sage did not define it as love, passion. No. He only said ahimsa. He only said, be careful, do not entertain harmful, violent thoughts. Do not indulge in harmful, violent words or deeds. Now, I am going to be vigilant again. In order that I may see, examine my own thoughts, words and deeds, my own feelings and emotions and sentiments and motives, to make sure that there is no violence there. That is the beauty again of being delightfully vague, of the instruction being delightfully vague. Avoid violence in your thought, word and deed. Now, what is violence? How violent is violence? Can I shout at my husband? You go and ask this master, can I shout at my husband? He will say, avoid all violence in thought, word and deed. So that when you face your husband and you are tempted to swear at him, you are looking within, am I being violent or not? The moment you look within, your violence is gone. I explained to you yesterday how when you look at yourself to try to trace where sleep comes from, the sleep is gone. So you are boiling inside and you are looking within, am I being violent or not? And the moment you ask yourself, am I being violent or not, the violence is gone. The anger is gone, the ill temper is gone. So he prescribed certain virtues, not because these virtues are going to lead us to heaven, that's boring. It's a nuisance, heaven. Not that I don't want to have gone there, but from what other people have said and the way people from heaven come here, I feel it's boring. It's more a nuisance. And we have also seen this, you see, we have seen how people consider such a place as heaven. And you go there and see the intrigues and the nuisance that goes on there drives you away. So if such things can exist here, the other heaven also we don't want. The yogi is not interested in heaven. He does not cultivate virtues in order that he might go to heaven, but in order that his mind may be completely free from external tensions and attractions, so that he could pursue this inner quest, inquiry. What am I? What am I? And in this inquiry, everything is a help. This is another extraordinary thing. Everything, every thought that arises in your mind is a help. Every feeling that arises in your mind is a help. Every passion that arises in your mind is a help. Everything that others consider obstacles is a help. If you are able to utilize all these, if you are vigilant enough to grab each one of these so-called obstacles. One incident I'll give you, just like I gave you the incident of sleep the other day. Once it so happened in the ashram in India. It happened long ago, 1948-49. I was doing some work, somebody came along and he conveyed a dreadful news to me. That so and so, for whom I had the highest regard, and etc., etc. That he scandalized me and he spoke terribly ill of me, insulted me, all sorts of things. This is my friend coming and carrying tales. I was sitting there, he didn't even enter the room. He stood there, he had conveyed his venom, poured his venom, and he went away. I was still sitting. It was a lonely room away from the main ashram. I am sure many of you, especially the older members, would have had some experience like this. Somebody comes and insults you, or somebody conveys the news to you that your best friend insulted you or let you down. And at that time, if you had been watchful, you would have noticed that you experience a physical pain. Yes? This is not imagination. A real physical pain, like a hot needle being thrust through your chest. I am sure many of you have had this experience, whether you remember it or not. Very often this leads to what they call breakdown. If you are middle-aged, you probably suffer from increase in blood pressure. You go to bed, you have a heart attack, all sorts of things. Or probably a few days in bed, fever. Somehow, by the grace of God and the Master, immediately I felt this prick in the chest. I said, this is wonderful. I closed the door, locked it, sat down, like I sat down for this sleep experience, and started inquiring. He said something very bad. That's all right. It's no problem at all. He says, let's say, let's say Swami Venkatesananda is a fool. Well, it's perfectly all right, isn't it? Swami Venkatesananda may or may not be a fool, but that he thinks he is a fool is perfectly all right, isn't it? That chapter is over. But what I am concerned here is, what has that statement to do with this physical pain? That is it. That's what you want to know. Where is this physical pain, and what caused this physical pain of a hot needle being stuck in my chest? That is what I am tracing. I am not interested in whether this man thinks I am a good man or a bad man, or a wise man or a fool or whatever. I am not interested in that. I am only interested in this terrible subjective pain. What caused that pain? I closed my door. He said, I am going to find out. I am going to discover this mystery. Because obviously he is too good a man. He didn't thrust a dagger or something in my chest. He didn't even touch me. So how come this pain? That's what I want to discover. I must have sat there for about an hour or two. When suddenly the pain disappeared. In its place, there was a clear understanding. You can call it what you like. There was a clear understanding that this was non-existent. It was non-existent. It was unreal. It was non-existent. The pain never existed. That was a marvelous discovery. It was then that I understood what Krishna had said. Nasato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate satah. The unreal has never been. It is not as though that there was a physiological dagger thrust that I took it out. No. It never was. It never was. The unreal never was, never has been, and never will be. It went. It wouldn't come back again. It wouldn't come back again. Whatever happens now, I don't say all my days are full of joy and bliss and so on. I am also like you. Life may be full of ups and downs. Whatever it is, there is the feeling that this is a passing shadow. That's perfectly alright. This is a passing shadow. Let it pass. Let it go. That day, it was discovered that the pain is unreal. It's a shadow. It goes on. But there is something there which is enduring. The person who looked at this pain and made it disappear, that person is real. You don't call it I, don't call it Swami Venkatesananda, you don't call it this or that, I don't know. I don't know what you want to call it. Why do you want to call it at all? Why do you want to call it anything at all? There you could see a flash. And the unreal disappeared. The real endures. The unreal vanishes. The reality endures. And therefore, in this method of inquiry, you can use anything as a help. If the craziest thought enters your mind, you can still find its origin. Where has this thought come from? What is the nature of this thought? What is the substance of this thought? One can use this in combination with the other method that we discussed yesterday. That's what I am interested in. Because very often when you adopt a method of meditation, like for instance what we described yesterday, you imagine Buddha or Krishna or Jesus or whatever it is, and then repeat a mantra. Continual repetition of this trick, I would call it trick, makes the mind dull. You keep repeating Om, 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 Om. I know of people who can sleep and say Om, 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 Om. They are sleeping, fast asleep. Have you seen this? They can sleep. I think a couple of days ago I mentioned that in our ashram there is an altar near which somebody or other sits and sings Hare Rama throughout the day and night. Somebody had to do this at midnight, naturally. And in the early days of my stay in the ashram, there was an old man who was a very zealous spiritual aspirant. He had volunteered to do this job from 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. midnight. I used to sleep in the next room, next to the shrine. And this man used to sit, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, you will go on. Now, one can get used to anything. So, this noise I had got used to. Hare Rama noise I had got used to, so I could sleep there. But when there was interruption in this Hare Rama noise, that woke me up. In other words, when this man was awake, I was asleep. When he started sleeping, I woke up. And so, I told him, Swamiji, don't sit down and do this, you will sleep. Better get up, walk around the altar and go on singing Hare Rama. And for some time it worked. Whenever he felt a bit sleepy, he used to get up and go around the altar, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. And later I noticed that even walking he used to sleep. Walking and singing. Because that again becomes rhythmic, you see. Rhythmic walking, and you can walk automatically. Dig, 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 it goes on. And then Hare Rama, Hare Rama. So, these things can become dull. And when they become dull, they become useless. When these spiritual practices become dull, they are absolutely useless. They are no longer spiritual practices. They are mechanical practices. Therefore, I feel we can, with great advantage, combine the mantra form type of meditation, trick as I call it, with this inquiry. How? I'll explain and then we shall practice it. The question is simple. You are repeating a mantra mentally, or you listen. you listen to the breathing, and then you listen to the mantra being said within. That is a sound, isn't it? Huh? Even what you call mental repetition of a mantra is a sound, isn't it? You can hear the sound inside you. When you repeat a mantra mentally, you can hear the sound within you. Right? Now forget the idea that you are repeating the mantra mentally. Sound means this. Make sure that you understand this very clearly. This hand hit this palm and sound is produced. Two things strike against each other, sound is produced, right? Can you produce some sound without one thing striking the other? Even here, the air strikes the windpipe. Is it clear? Sound cannot be produced without one thing striking the other. No sound can be produced. The air is striking my lips. Sound cannot be produced at all without one thing striking the other. Now, I can hear the mantra. Huh? Can't you hear the mantra? When you turn your ear within, you can hear Om. Now, what strikes what? Something must be striking something within me, yes? Otherwise, from where does this sound come?
Pure vibration.
Words, madam. You can use some other words. Do you see this? There is no vibration here. Huh? I don't care. Do you see this or not? Now, can you turn within yourself and see what strikes what? How the vibration is produced inside you? We don't deny the vibration business. Oh, wonderful, all wonderful. But what we are asking is, here I can see one hand striking the other. Now what strikes what?
Thought striking thought.
You can use some other words, madam. Why not? Ghost striking ghost. Huh? Or God striking ghost. What difference does it make to you? Whether thought strikes thought, or ghost strikes God, or God strikes ghost. The point is, are you able to see it as you are able to see the two hands striking each other? This is inquiry. You see the point here? Now immediately you ask this question, your mind becomes alert. Hiya, I missed this. I missed this. So if you answer yourself thought strike thought, or no strikes palate, then you have missed the joke. You are missing the opportunity of keeping this inquiry alive. That's one part. Number two, if here is a man sitting, this cloth. Do you know what cloth is made of? Cotton. Underneath there is some skin. The skin covers some flesh, and underneath the flesh there must be some bone, I think. There is a bone, yeah? Something hard. Must be the bone. That is what the whole thing is made of. Some hair. Now I close my eyes, or even keep your eyes open, doesn't matter at all. I can distinctly see within me Buddha sitting. Let's say I can see you sitting. Huh? The same. Instead of calling upon Buddha now, I see you sitting there. I know what that is composed of. And now, I can see the same girl here. And I am asking myself, what is this made of? Is the question clear? I only want the question to be clear. The outside image, I know what that is made of. When I see it inside, what is that made of? You can use it in regard to anything. Let us say the picture of Jesus or the picture of a statue of Buddha. Say it's made of stone. That statue is made of stone. But when I visualize it inside me, there is no stone in me. There is no stone in me. So what is that made of? It's only the question that is important, not the answer. Probably you will never get the answer. I don't know. I don't know if you can get an answer. Verbalized answer, formalized answer. So, I am repeating the mantra and I am visualizing the form of Buddha, Krishna, etc., etc., etc. within me. And when the mind becomes dull, I switch to an inquiry. Where does this sound come from? And what is this inner image made of? And there again, the mind becomes alert, the inquiry continues till the truth is discovered. When the truth or the reality is discovered, then something which is enduring, eternal, something that is infinite, something that is unlimited, something that is undying has been discovered. And there is an end to sorrow, end to fear, an end to all that is negative and destructive. Let us meditate for a few minutes. ಓಂ ತ್ರ್ಯಂಬಕಂ ಯಜಾಮಹೇ ಸುಗಂಧಿಂ ಪುಷ್ಟಿವರ್ಧನಂ ಉರ್ವಾರುಕಮಿವ ಬಂಧನಾನ್ ಮೃತ್ಯೋರ್ಮುಕ್ಷೇಮಾಮೃತಾತ್. ಓಂ ತ್ರ್ಯಂಬಕಂ ಯಜಾಮಹೇ ಸುಗಂಧಿಂ ಪುಷ್ಟಿವರ್ಧನಂ ಉರ್ವಾರುಕಮಿವ ಬಂಧನಾನ್ ಮೃತ್ಯೋರ್ಮುಕ್ಷೇಮಾಮೃತಾತ್. ಓಂ ತ್ರ್ಯಂಬಕಂ ಯಜಾಮಹೇ ಸುಗಂಧಿಂ ಪುಷ್ಟಿವರ್ಧನಂ ಉರ್ವಾರುಕಮಿವ ಬಂಧನಾನ್ ಮೃತ್ಯೋರ್ಮುಕ್ಷೇಮಾಮೃತಾತ್. ಸರ್ವೇಷಾಂ ಸ್ವಸ್ತಿ ಭವತು, ಸರ್ವೇಷಾಂ ಶಾಂತಿರ್ಭವತು, ಸರ್ವೇಷಾಂ ಪೂರ್ಣಂ ಭವತು, ಸರ್ವೇಷಾಂ ಮಂಗಳಂ ಭವತು. ಸರ್ವೇ ಭವಂತು ಸುಖಿನಃ, ಸರ್ವೇ ಸಂತು ನಿರಾಮಯಾಃ, ಸರ್ವೇ ಭದ್ರಾಣಿ ಪಶ್ಯन्तು, ಮಾ ಕಶ್ಚಿತ್ ದುಃಖಭಾಗ್ ಭವೇತ್. असतो मा सद्गमय, तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय, मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय. ओम पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते, पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते. ओम शांति शांति शांति.